gonna go over military patches and how to apply them, where to do it, how to measure it, all of that good stuff. Today I am using this shirt, and here we go. However, one thing to keep in mind with these patches when it comes to the military is they can be very precise about certain ones. So what I'm doing here today for the Air Force one might not be the same that the Marines do it or any other branch. So you do want to make sure to look up the regulations for that particular branch, and they do mention how it should be for long sleeves and short sleeves. For the Air Force, they want it to be between the shoulder and the elbow centered, which the shirt that we have right here is the short sleeve that I'm doing. It is about exactly right there, and so we can use the same measurement on the long sleeve shirt. So just keep that in mind. This is not a one size fits all for every type of military patch, just this one in particular. We start by taking our shirt. Here is the shoulder piece. I don't know what it's called, but there is a crease on all the sleeves for these types of shirts right here. They are made with this crease, so even though it's not in line with the actual seams up here, this is where it's supposed to be. Do not reshape this seam. We're gonna take our patches. This is an Air Force patch. We're gonna end up putting it right in the middle and lining the top of the star up with this little middle point right here, so it gives us a straight line across with the crease. We're gonna start by measuring. I lost my wooden ruler, so I'm using this flexible school ruler because it's all I have right now until I find the wooden one. And we're gonna align this up here exactly with this. And this is dried paint, don't worry, it's not gonna get on the shirt. So we're gonna line it up with the top of the crease. We're gonna try to flatten out the fabric as much as possible and just align it with that crease all the way down to the bottom. And we're gonna mark, I'm using a disappearing ink on my ruler in case it gets on the fabric. That way it'll go away very easy, no stress. We're just gonna mark where that's at. And then this is where math comes in handy. We're gonna find the exact middle between this point and this point, which would actually be about right here, because I did this earlier. Don't pay attention to that. So I'm gonna mark exactly where it should be as a visual reference. So this is the middle. We're gonna place this up against the shirt again, lining it up as perfectly as possible. My line was a little crooked there, but that's okay. And then we're gonna take the patch. This one, we're gonna find the very center of the patch and apply it right over where that line would be. And this is an estimation so far. So the center of the star would go right here. So I'm going to set that right there. We're just going to follow the crease, and this time is to make sure that it's straight. Follow the crease all the way down. And now it looks a little bit off, so I'm going to pull it over just a little bit. We want it to be as exact as possible. Okay. And then I like to double and triple check sometimes. Oh goodness, it's hard with the camera in front of me. Okay, and then I use this temporary fabric glue. It's just like a glue stick. Then we're gonna press this down, make sure it doesn't move, and slightly or lightly take off any tape that's there. We're gonna glue this thing down. It's gonna get sewn in, so don't worry about that part. And just get it all over there. Slowly make sure that the fabric's all good. And the good thing about this glue too is that it takes a second to dry. So if it did get messed up or it accidentally moves, you can always just put it back and it's still sticky. And if anything is outside of the area that you're actually wanting to sew on, it'll wash off like nothing happened. Okay, and even after that, I still check it again. Let's see. Yep, still looking good. This is the point where I give it a couple minutes to sit, let the adhesive start to do its job. And I kind of just press it, put some weight on it, maybe just for like 2 or 3 minutes. So while I'm waiting, we can do a little bit of talking. The way that I found out how to do this, one, I was told it should go exactly centered in the sleeve, but also I have some long sleeve shirts I'm supposed to be doing, and I had questions. So I looked up online. You can access the military orientation guide. I don't know if that's what it's called, but I found it, and there is a part in section 4, I think it was around like 412 or something like that, but it shows you exactly where it should be placed. It kind of describes the way it should be, and then it also shows pictures, so I went off of the pictures as well, and I was able to do it. I wasn't sure about how the stitching should be. Nothing really said anything about how the stitches should look, but I do know it should not be a zigzag stitch and that you should use a straight stitch. Now, some people do it along the inside of this outline here, and then a lot of other people do it exactly in the middle, because as you wash it, if you do it on the inside of the outline, it's gonna kind of like wave up, and with wear and tear, it's gonna start curling. If you've ever had a patch do that, it's kind of frustrating and annoying. And this is our military member, so I really want to show respect and make sure that it goes on as good as possible. So I try to do it right in the center of the outline, so there's not as much leeway for it to start curving up and stuff. It doesn't have to be perfectly stuck to it right now, but it is enough where it can, like, I can do this and it's not moving. So of course we're going to use a thread that matches nearly identically, if not identically, to the outline of the patch. If it's a shiny thread on the patch, you're going to use a shiny thread, same color and everything, so it blends in really well, because you don't want the stitches to stand out. You don't really want to notice it. If you're like 2 feet away, well, maybe not 2 feet, if you're like 5 feet away from this person, you won't even notice that the patch was stitched on. It's going to look like it's just part of the shirt. And next, it is recommended for stitch length. Now, it didn't say this in the book, but I did a lot of research. I wanted to get this right. The stitch length between 2.5 and 3. And so my machine automatically goes on to 2.5, and that's what I did the last shirt I did. So I'm going to keep it all consistent. We're going to go with a 2.5 straight stitch. Whenever we start sewing, we're never start at the top or the sides, start at the very bottom, because once you go around, you don't backstitch at first, you can just keep going around, and then once you come the opposite way, just kind of go over where your previous stitch was, and then you can backstitch 2 or 3 times. And I forgot to mention, needle size and type is important. I'm going to be using a Universal 9014. I got these in bulk on Amazon and they're amazing. So we're going to do that because the patch is pretty thick and we want the thread to go through easily and kind of treat it in the right way. You can also use the 80, I don't memorize the numbers, I just remember the first number. So you can use the 80 or the 100. I decided to go right in the middle and go straight with the 90. I'm familiar with where my needle goes in here, so I'm doing it right to where my needle will fit centered in this outline here. And also always make sure that the bottom fabric here from the underside of the arm is pulled back. You don't want to accidentally end up sewing that to your patch, because then you have to seam rip and you always have the possibility of tearing the fabric. We don't want to do that. And then I have my machine on the slowest setting too. You want to go slow. When you're doing something precise, always go slow. It's a huge life lesson for those who want to sew. Just taking it as slow as we can. And with this straightening out the fabric, take your time, okay? Don't be in a rush. You want the fabric to lay naturally flat, which can be kind of hard to do sometimes, but you just want it to be flat. No pulling or stretching. You just want it to lay just like it was on the table. Okay, and then here is the result. As it rests, it's gonna be about right in the center of their arm. Oh, this is, ignore how the clothes hanger's making it hang, but you get the idea. And now I'm going to show you with a long sleeve how we're going to use our measurements from earlier to do the long sleeves. For the long sleeve, we're going to take our sleeve, center it just like we did before, where the crease is what we're looking at. And we're going to use the same measurement that we used for the short sleeve on the long sleeve, because essentially it'll rest about where they want it to rest. And then you take the top of the patch. Where'd that patch go? Hold on. And then we're going to do the same process with this as we did the last one.